touchdown.
It's time. It's time. It's Swain Event time.
My man.
It is time for the Swain Event, fueled by Dead End Barbecue. This is real sports talk for the real sports fan. Talk to him, Swain.
Get into his mouth and a Ric Flair.
Swain Event, SwainEvent.com, fueled by Dead End Barbecue, top 100 barbecue restaurant in America. Ladies and gentlemen, it is Tuesday, first show of the week. Joined by my good friend Ben McKee. That's a brother, man. I call him my little brother, Ben McKee. Go Balls 247. Hope everyone's having a great start to your week. Ben, you good over there?
I'm doing all right. First off, I consider you a big brother. So, and I tell people you're like the big brother I never had. So I think that's fitting that you view me as a little brother. Although you have little brothers, but I'll just join in.
I don't have a white one.
That's true. I'll be the white little brother. We got white Chris and we got white little bro.
That's right.
Now.
That's right.
So no, I'm doing good. I'm blessed. A little tired this morning. Stayed up too late to watch the ending of that Nuggets Thunder game, and
good.
Boy, was playoff basketball on fire last night. Knicks Celtics was awesome. Nuggets Thunder was awesome. I know the NBA is not for everybody, but if you love basketball and you don't really like the NBA, I would encourage you, if you do love basketball, to tune in these next couple of weeks, the next week and a half, 2 weeks, and beyond as we approach the finals, because this second round is going to be great basketball. And there's the stereotype that NBA players do not play defense, which is true for the most part during the regular season, but they're playing defense in the playoffs, and it's some of the best athletes in the world, some of the best basketball players in the world, and we've got a couple of phenomenal series. Warriors and T-Wolves get underway tonight. That's going to be phenomenal. Steph versus Anthony Edwards. I remember you and I debating Anthony Edwards back in the day when he was coming out of high school. I didn't like the fact that people questioned his work ethic and whether he loved football more than basketball. And come to find out, Steve Kerr is the one that kind of motivated Anthony Edwards by telling him 1,000 times during his workout that he didn't work hard enough. So that was a cool story that we saw come out this week. So stayed up a little too late watching basketball, so I'm a little tired. But it was worth it because playoff basketball last night was phenomenal, and it will be these next couple of weeks.
Yeah, we were debating how good he is coming out of Georgia, out of college. And, he was nonchalant about his love for basketball, but really spoke about his love for football, and that was a turnoff for you. And I understand. I mean, usually that plays out to a player not reaching their full potential or not even being as good as what Anthony Edwards is right now. So yeah, I agree with you, man. Playoff basketball has been really fun, and it's been really intense. And you can be a basketball fan, you can not be a basketball fan, but I think when it comes down to like crunch time, and if you have any type of competitive makeup about yourself and you like watching other folks compete at the highest level, to me it doesn't matter if it's baseball, if it's hockey because the playoffs are going on with hockey, basketball, whatever. Like I'm looking forward to these UFL playoffs because two teams will fight for something. That's, for me, always much CTV. You should be well rested, man. All the time you've been chilling, waiting around for a baseball game to start. That was the case this past weekend with many rain delays. And another series where Tennessee baseball comes up a little bit short. Some questionable decisions, some questionable play from players, and baseball is tricky. As long as you have the talent, man, it only takes a lightning strike for everything to change. And we've seen that with other programs start off where they are right now. Like, I remember when Florida played LSU in the championship series a couple of years ago. Florida wasn't all that great that season in the regular season and got hot when it mattered most. Ole Miss did the same thing when they won the national championship. And I think we've been spoiled in the last couple of years, not making excuses for what has happened over the last couple of weeks, because that's not acceptable, right? But doesn't mean that you can't win a championship. Whereas football, man, if you playing bad and there's some glaring things about what you're doing during the season, chances are you're not going to win a championship. Like Ohio State had one bad game late in the season versus a rival. But for the most part, you pretty much know who's going to be a main contender at the end with football. Basketball, kind of similar to baseball, but for Tennessee, there's talent, and we've seen Tennessee do this a couple of years ago versus the same opponent that's coming up, and that's Vanderbilt, well, the weekend opponent. And can we see that, Ben? Do you think we'll see lightning strike like we saw a couple of years ago? Now the team didn't win enough to be able to host in the postseason. Had to go to Clemson, had to go to Southern Miss, won, and still was able to get to the College World Series. Do you think this team has some of the makeup to be able to do the same thing they did a couple of years ago when there was a slide during the regular season and hit lightning in the bottle versus Vanderbilt?
Yes, I do think that they can. I think that they are capable, and there's a lot of discussions to be had with Tennessee baseball right now. Frankly, we do not have enough time to discuss all of them at the proper length. I will encourage people when they get done listening to us this morning to check out my Diamond Vols podcast. I feel like we did a pretty good job of going in depth and keeping it real while also being respectful to those involved. So if you want a more nuanced conversation, or if there's a specific question that you're wondering that we don't bring up, feel free to drop it on the text box or tweet it at us, of course. But I do think that they have the ingredients, Wayne, but they need to come together more as a team these next couple of weeks. And they have all the talent to make a run like they did in 23, but there are 23 type of vibes right now with this baseball team, more so than the 2014 vibes, at least in my opinion, from obviously being around each of the Tony Vitello teams extensively, covering them. In my opinion, it feels like more of the 23 team, to where it feels like there's a lot of individuals coming together, and it's not a team. Like the vibe around the building is that it's just a bunch of individuals, and not that it's a team, if that makes sense. Now, I do have a caveat that I don't think that this team is as in bad of a place as that 23 team. Like that 23 team was. It was rough. The chemistry was rough. I mean, all the way up until they began the NCAA tournament. When they lost to Texas A&M and Hoover and were one and done, and they had like a week off before they ended up going to Clemson, I thought that I would have been shocked if they made it out of Clemson alive, and they did. So I point that out to suggest, like, hey, they can absolutely turn this thing around, because I thought the 23 team was far more dead in the waters because of its chemistry issues than this team. And it's not like to me, from the outside looking in and just covering the team on a day-to-day basis and kind of understanding the different personalities that are on this year's team, I don't think that there's a bad apple or two like that 23 team had. I just think that it's a lot of new players and inexperienced players in new roles for the first time, and because of that, the chemistry, what is needed to beat LSU on the road, what is needed to beat a top 10 Auburn team that has a lot of fight, to beat a scrappy Kentucky team that is a bit underrated, to make sure that you don't allow a Texas A&M team that has a ton of talent to correct its issues and get hot at the right time, because that Tennessee weekend has kind of sparked A&M. They've played much better baseball since. Yeah. Like, in order to beat these really good teams, which you have to deal with on a week-to-week basis in the SEC, there has to be a level of cohesion, a level of chemistry, mental fortitude, mental toughness, however you want to term it. This team is lacking it. And again, I want to emphasize, I don't think it's because there's bad apples within the clubhouse. I just think you've pieced together a basket of apples that are together kind of for the first time. And you're asking guys to be in leadership roles or play pivotal roles for kind of the first time in their career. And I think that's why maybe the chemistry is not where you would like it for it to be on May 6th, as you've just got 2 weekends left to play before the SEC tournament. So it's not that I think that they don't have it at all, or that it's just a major issue. It's just not where it needs to be, because when it is where it needs to be, when the belief is high, you don't make the sloppy mistakes that they just continue to make. And it's not that they don't have the ability to hit the baseball, to field the baseball, to make better base running decisions, or to throw more strikes out of the bullpen. It's all mental at this point, and part of it is just the mental slide that they are on. They've lost so much at this point, especially by Tennessee baseball standards. It just feels like every game is just piling on, and there's the weight of the world on their shoulders. But there hasn't been that guy that stepped up and kind of grabbed the bull by the horns and say, nah, this isn't happening. Like, you have good leaders at the top with a guy like Hunter Ensley and some others, but you don't have like the Kavaris Tears, kind of the underrated leader that's not afraid to get in a guy's face and say, hey, like, we're not allowing this to happen. We got to snap out of this. So they have the pieces in place. And again, I think they can reach that point and still have a lot of success. Maybe there's some tweaks in the lineup in terms of not necessarily replacing guys, but moving guys up and down that can maybe spark the offense. I think they need to go a couple of different routes in the bullpen at this point, try some new things. They made some adjustments with the defense, and the defense has been better for the most part the last couple of games. So they have the ingredients, Swain, but they need to find a way to come together a little bit more these next couple of weeks. And if they do, then I think that they have a chance to get back to Omaha.
Remember when Coach Foreman was named the AD and Tennessee came out with the hype video, the come together video? That's what Tennessee baseball needs to do. They just need to.
Well, and it's like I sent you, I texted you a clip of that Dalton Bargo home run.
Bargo.
Now, go watch the video.
I did. I was watching it.
Did anything catch your eye?
Yeah.
Other than the home run?
Some juice. Some emotion.
I see. What caught my eye was the lack of juice. I saw.
Well, I saw from him.
From him, yes. But what about the dugout? When your best player, when he's rounding first, you see in the dugout the best player sitting on the bench on a bucket, not showing any emotion. And then he gets back to the dugout. And remember the Drew Gilbert teams or the Christian Moore teams where the umpire had to tell the team to get back in the dugout after every home run? The on-deck batter greeted Dalton Bargo at home plate. The player who was stepping onto the on-deck circle greeted Dalton Bargo. And then you had like two players step outside of the dugout and greet him. Now, there was excitement in the dugout. You can see that, but it's just it's not the same. And like I've heard comments from people who are watching on television that it's like when they show the dugout, it just seems like they do the clapping when somebody goes to the plate or whatever. Mm-hmm. Like it's almost as if they're having guns put to their head to do it. Yeah. And it feels weird mentioning that because the same player that was sitting on the bucket not really showing any emotion when Bargo hit the home run. Not really showing emotion. He did not show any emotion at all. I thought that was weird, but he comes back the next day and does really well in extra innings. Obviously shows enough emotions to where he gets himself ejected. And you don't, I mean, I don't want to make too much of it, but Liam Doyle's about to be a top 15 pick in June, or excuse me, in July. And he could have said, no, I'm not coming back and pitching on Sunday. He could have put his arm first this weekend. He did not. And that seems like something little, but it's not, especially when on the 23 team, there was a pitcher who ended up being a first-round pick that refused to pitch twice in a weekend unless it was under certain circumstances through his agent. So that is something to note. So like I don't want to make too much of it, but it's just weird. And to me, it's a sign that the vibe is a bit off, and this team needs to find a way to come together a bit more. And what's weird to me is like I am calling Liam Doyle out, and I don't really want to, but it's obvious in the video, and plenty of people noticed it and even brought it up to me. So I feel like if people are asking me about it, it's something that needs to be addressed, even if I don't want to, because it's hard to question Liam's passion and energy. And he's one of the few guys on the team that you can, without a doubt, say, like, he's got that dog in him, the type of dog that helped Tennessee win the national championship last year. And again, maybe he was just really, really irritated by what happened on Friday night and was kind of frustrated about that. Like, I'm giving him grace while also bringing this up because of how he responded on Sunday and what he provided on Sunday. But the frustrating part is you had that big emotional walk-off win. You needed that in the worst way. Will Heflin last week on our podcast talked about how this team needs something weird to happen. And what happened this weekend? Something weird happened. You had all the issues with the rain delays. Dalton Bargo hits the game-tying solo home run in the bottom of the ninth. They have to come back the next afternoon and resume play. Some funkiness happened there with Liam. He gets ejected, and you walk them off. A true freshman walks them off, walks a good Auburn team off in the bottom of the ninth. There's life. Something weird has happened, like Heflin said needed to happen, like we saw in the Vanderbilt series in 23 when Griffin Merritt and Kavares Tears hit solo home runs in the bottom of the ninth to kind of save the season. And then they come out flat in game 3. Yeah. How does that happen? How do you come out flat in game 3 when you just won in walk-off fashion 45 minutes earlier for the first time all season? How does that happen? Like that boggles my mind. I that makes no sense, but I think it perfectly encapsulates what's wrong with this team right now is that they're going through it a bit mentally. I kind of think that maybe, okay, we got Auburn. We got them back. Now the rest of this weekend is going to take care of itself, which is foolish to think that Ike Irish, the most underrated player in the SEC, he wasn't going to have something to say about that, especially after the dust-up between Liam Doyle and his teammate. Maybe it's just the emotional roller coaster, Swain. 45 minutes after a walk-off that they weren't able to come down from that high, but I just don't understand how they could come out so flat after having such a big swing of momentum and emotions in their favor that they desperately needed, and they were at home. And by the time first pitch happened for game 3, the crowd was locked in and ready to roll, and they were ready to help push Tennessee to a series victory, and the offense just did not show up. A.J. Russell ran into some trouble. He looked good in the first 2 innings, and then he had a blister pop up in that 3rd inning when Auburn scored 4 runs. So some tough luck there. It's really painful to pitch with a blister, and they had 3 singles in a row. 2 of them were kind of cheapies. So you ran into some tough luck, but nobody was able to come in from the bullpen and stop the bleeding. The offense had 4 hits. It was a 7-inning game, but still 4 hits, and it was the second fewest of the season. It makes no sense in my mind.
You see the success that the previous teams had. I mean, if you're someone that just joined this program, but you don't understand like what they did to have that success and what it takes and the energy that it takes, because you feed off energy from your teammates when they do something well. The celebration is more than just a celebration. It's their energy. It's that vibe. that you get from your teammates. Like, where's the daddy hat, man? Where's the jacket? We still doing that?
They're still wearing it in the dugout. It's just not as noticeable.
Yeah, it's not as noticeable, but hey, we'll let them figure it out, man. They got the talent, but they got to figure it out.
Hey, maybe Vanderbilt and Tennessee, they have the same SEC record at the moment. I believe 14-10, if I'm not mistaken. But the vibes of each team could not be
Totally different.
Vanderbilt is on an upward trajectory, Tennessee on a downward trajectory. And if Tennessee doesn't get it together the next 2 weekends, they're not hosting. They're not hosting here in a couple of weeks, which would be
tragic.
Be as bad as my Grizzlies having the number 2 seed a month and a half out for the playoffs and somehow not making the playoffs. Well, I guess they did. They made it with the play-in, but they might as well have not have made it. But like they better get it together. But the point that I was going to get to is spinning it in an optimistic fashion is, hey, maybe Vanderbilt is exactly what Tennessee needs right now. Like Todd says, the time for complacency amongst the fans and team is over. It's officially hate candy week. That team better be fired up this weekend. And I mentioned that KT and Griffin Merritt kind of saved the season against Vanderbilt because it was a rivalry 2 years ago. Maybe they can find that same energy and that same juice this weekend to get things turned around. You're going to have an orange out on Saturday. The program has asked the fans, and it's the last home weekend. Hopefully the weather is better, and that allows for a smoother weekend. And there were some things out of their control this weekend. Obviously the weather. The umpires were the worst I have seen in a long time. Especially they were literal trash.
No, they were.
The zone was horrendous, and like this isn't people who keep up with Tennessee saying this. I mean, you had Kendall Rogers, who is the loudest national media member covering college baseball, has the biggest platform, I should say. And I mean, he's tweeting about how awful officiating, umpiring is throughout the SEC this season. It was an issue in every single game. I mean, just absolutely horrendous calls that, like, yes, the offense needs to be better and play through those frustrations better, but that absolutely contributed to Tennessee's offensive struggles on Friday night and Game 3. And then, like, what Liam Doyle told the Auburn player was significantly worse. But in that moment, either eject both of them or don't eject both at all. Either eject both of them or none of them. So it was just a comedy of the umpiring did not help. That's not why Tennessee lost. Tennessee has a lot to figure out. But that when officiating is that bad and truly does impact the baseball game, and they're making spiteful calls in the first game because of Tennessee yelling at him, that does have an impact, unfortunately.
865-255-03, Guards the Law hotline this morning. We'll go to the hotline when we come back from our first break here on the Swain Event. Swain Event fueled by Dead End Barbecue, top 100 barbecue restaurant in America. Ben McKee, GoVols 247. I'm Jason Swain here in the Low T Center studio. Be right back.
You're listening to the Swain Event.
You don't say.
Fueled by Dead End Barbecue.
When you are craving some quality barbecue, there's only one place to go. Dead End Barbecue. Dead End Barbecue has been featured on ESPN's Taste of the Town, the first barbecue restaurant on the SEC Network, CBS Sports, Headline News Tailgate Show, Amazon Prime's The Restaurant Comeback, Food Paradise, and named one of the top 100 barbecue restaurants in America. The search is over. Dead End Barbecue is located on 3621 Sutherland Avenue right here in Knoxville. You can even have it delivered right to your door through Chow Now. Visit their website at deadendbbq.com. Dead End Barbecue. The search is over.
Out-of-town law firms have been swarming into East Tennessee lately. From Memphis, Chattanooga, and Birmingham, they've stormed into the area. Wouldn't you rather do business with a local firm? You know, a true neighbor. Marcos Garza and the pros at the Garza Law Firm are just that. There are neighbors and friends that support local causes year-round. The Garza Law Firm works to serve you professionally on criminal matters, injuries and accident matters, and Social Security and disability filings. The Garza Law Firm is here for you at garzalaw.com. The Garza Law Firm. Let us help.
Fellas, let's talk about getting back to your best. If you lack energy, muscle mass, feeling moody, or have low libido, it could be low testosterone. You need to know your T levels, so get tested. Testosterone therapy, or TRT, may be the answer, and you'll find true experts at Low T Center. But guys are not all the same, so don't settle for a standard dosage TRT program. Learn about the personalized treatment at Low T Center and the results you can expect with customized TRT. And for current patients, Low T Center offers a $150 referral credit when you refer a new patient. So go to lowtcenter.com to book an appointment. That's lowtcenter.com. Low T Center, reinventing men's healthcare.
Just because you can't call in doesn't mean that you have to sit on the sideline. Impact the show with a text box. It's part of the free Swain Event app.
Swain Event, SwainEvent.com, fueled by Dead End Barbecue, top 100 barbecue restaurant in America. I'm Jason Swain, Ben McKee, Go Vols 247. Laying it down when it comes to Tennessee baseball. No one covers the baseball program like Ben McKee. No one does it like Knoxville when it comes to the ultimate baloney showdown. And we go to the Garza Law Hotline, talk to our guy, George Ewer, owner of Dead End Barbecue. And it is that time of the year again, George, for the ultimate baloney showdown. Good morning.
Hey, Jason, how you doing? Hey, Ben, how you doing?
We're good, man. We're good.
Good to hear from you, George.
Well, it's that time of year. We're having the ultimate baloney showdown at UT Rec Sports again this year. It'll be Saturday, May 10th. The gates open at 11. The show starts at 12. There'll be some entertainment going on starting around 11:30-ish. There'll be some different things happening, and it's going to be really crazy. Last year, we had about 750 people there. We expect to double it this year. We've got some really, we reached last year social media-wise, digital, print, and television, over 268 million people through this contest, which kind of blows you away. We are the number 2 ranked contest last year for Major League Eating, and the number 1 first-year contest ever by them. So this is a huge deal that we're bringing to Knoxville.
Last year, George, Joey Chestnut, everyone knows him for his victories over the years with the hot dog eating contest. But, I mean, last year, 14 pounds of smoked bologna in 8 minutes. I know last year, because it was the first year of the competition, it was only 8 minutes. Is there a change to the time allowed for all the eaters, or are we looking at the same time frame of 8 minutes?
So we're going to stay at 8 minutes. Major League Eating kind of worked with us to keep that time frame. And we're going to keep it at 8 minutes for a while, and maybe eventually, after a couple years more, maybe go to 10. It all depends, what happens this year. But we got some great eaters. Joey Chestnut's back again. Patrick Bertoletti, he won Nathan's Hot Dogs contest last year at July 4th. So he's going to be there. James Webb is back. The greatest women's eater of all time, Mickey Sudo. I think she's won Nathan's probably like 12 times in a row for the women's side of everything. Her husband, Nick Weary's going to be there, and Heavy D, Derek Henderson's going to be there. We got 13 eaters. All of them are ranked in the top. I think the lowest ranked one is 43rd. So it's going to be it is a packed field. Not very many contests have that many ranked eaters in them.
I think Ben can eat about 2 or 3 pounds up there with the rest of them. What you think, George? I think Ben can handle his own.
Well, Mayor Jacobs last year, he ate 2 pounds. I think he tore his mandible jaw, but 2 pounds is really a lot because the world record prior to that was 3 when you think about it, and kind of how far Chestnut shattered it is ridiculous.
Yeah, it was crazy, man. The energy was on high last year because of Stir of the Pearl. Did a great job of kind of setting the foundation, and then the competition was high energy, was fierce, and then Joey Chestnut, who was down with about a minute to go, was able to power through and get the win. So this is an unbelievable event for the city of Knoxville. Last year was the first year. It was a great response, and we're looking to make it bigger and better, and hope everyone can come and be a part of history being made right here in Knoxville, Tennessee. So, George, man, thank you.
Oh, can I put in one other little thing?
Please.
Sterling will be back again this year, and what we've done, we put a little different twist on this thing this year. We have contacted all the Young Life memberships at each high school, and we are having a drawing on Thursday, and each one of them is going to select an eater out of the hat, and then they're going to come and cheer for that eater, and if their eater wins, they're going to get a baloney belt as well. So there'll be 2 baloney belts given out that day.
A baloney belt, I love it. A baloney belt. Will it look like the same one from last year? Because I remember the one from last year.
Yeah, it's the same one, except the date changed on it. It's going to be a crazy event. It's free to the public. Everybody come and be there. We got 2 huge soccer fields that we're on, so we can handle as many people as can get there. That's for sure.
All right, my man. We didn't miss anything, did we?
I think we checked all the boxes, man. Thanks for letting us be on the show, and look forward to seeing y'all down there. And Ben, I hope you can come, and maybe next year we'll get you on there as Celebrity Eater.
Ben is a celebrity.
I don't know about that. I don't have Jason Swain or Chris Lowe status.
I don't know about that. All right, George. Thank you so much for the time, man.
All right, I'll see you, man.
All right,
okay.
George Ewart, Daddy and Barbecue, the Ultimate Baloney Showdown, Rec Sports Field Complex this weekend, Saturday. As you heard George say, the gates open up at 11 a.m. and you'll have music, we'll have events, activities. It is kid friendly, and those will start around 11:30, and then the competition itself will start soon after that. And so last year was the first year. It was pretty cool, man. It was pretty cool. 865-255-03 is our Garza Law hotline. Double J says 8 minutes of baloney would equal hours of pain. Yeah, we had Joey Chestnut on the show, Joshua Swain, last year talking about like what he does to prepare for eating competition, and like he fasts a day or two before the competition, and he is like wrecked for a day or two afterwards. But hey, man, the purse is $10,000. No, yeah, 15. No, hold on. First is $5,000, and so hey, man, for $5,000, it'd be worth it. All right, let's go back to the phones. 865-255-03, Garza Law hotline. Good morning.
Good morning, Swain. Good morning, Ben.
Dustin. What's up, Justin?
Hey, man, I was just, Hey, man, I was wanting to know, I was listening to Tony V's press conference or whatever, and I guess somebody might have got under his skin or something, said that he was like a travesty to getting tossed out of the game the other day. I don't really, I didn't really, I'm not a baseball expert, but Ben knows a whole lot more than I do. So my question on it was this: I've been waiting for that man to get tossed all year long. Previously, before they won the national championship, it seemed like every game we watched on TV or watched over at Lindsey Nelson, that's all they talked about was Tennessee's the bad boys of baseball. How everybody, they would chirp at them and all that, bad boys of baseball. And, of course, then you had Tony V, he'd get thrown out and bumping chest and all that good stuff. But, man, I think that was well needed this weekend. Somebody needed to have a little fire. And, I know occasionally you see the pitcher walking off the mound, high high stepping and stuff. But where is that what y'all were talking about earlier? I mean, like, where has that attitude went? Like, I mean, I get it. Like, once you get on top of the mountain, you've won. You take a breath. But I mean, they've assembled this talent. Some of this talent ain't never won it. You know, they weren't here last year when we won the national championship. And some of those boys were in that dugout. You would think that they would be like, you know, if they want to get it again, they'd say, look, guys, this is what you got to do. And then you got the new guys, you think that they would fall right in line because, I mean, that's what they come here for, that and the money, you know. They wanted to win a championship. So, I mean, listen, that dude, man, I'm telling you, I love watching that man coach. So if he ever, you know, gets thrown out, if he wants to dump water on the umpires because they suck, I'm fine with that. You know what I mean? Throw dirt at them, throw a bucket of balls on the field, just go full meltdown mode. I mean, I like it. I think it's great. So, but anyway, I just wanted to I wanted to get Ben's take on that this morning, man. I wanted to, you know, I mean, because they just don't seem like they're the bad boys of baseball no more. You know what I mean? And of course, that's what made it fun for me. I started watching, you know, when that kind of picked up because, I mean, I like that attitude, you know. So, but I just get y'all's thoughts on it. I appreciate y'all this morning.
Hey, thank you, Dustin.
They certainly have not played with the same edge that the program became known for. When I was at LSU a couple of weeks ago and Cannon Peebles had his big game 2, he hit that 3-run home run into the left field bleachers to really open up the game, paired with Marcus Phillips's big outing in Baton Rouge, and Tennessee evened the series at a game apiece after that gut punch of a loss in game 1 when Jared Jones walked them off. He said that Tennessee baseball is at its best when they play like the villains. And today we played like the villains. And they just have not done that consistently enough. And there are obviously guys who played on last year's team, but when you break it down, there's not a whole lot of them, at least what you would expect. I mean, you had to replace a lot off of last year's team. You've had Reese Chapman out in right field. You've had Hunter Ensley in center. You've had Dalton Bargo, Dean Curley, Cannon Peebles, Marcus Phillips, Nate Snead, Andrew Binky. So, you've had like 10 or so, but there's also a lot of spots where it's guys that are new to the program. Now, some of those guys I think fit in well to the Tennessee baseball stereotype, and Andrew Fisher, Liam Doyle, Gavin Keelan. But in terms of like from top to bottom, I don't know that you have the same overall alpha mentality that you've seen from the past couple of teams. And that's also what the 23 team was lacking. And that's the difference in this league. This league is such a gauntlet. It's no different than football, basketball, but it's even turned up a notch for baseball and certainly was for basketball this year, where if you don't have the killer instinct, the other team will, and the other team will steamroll you. The room for margin is just slim as can be. You have zero room to navigate. If you aren't 1,000% locked in, if you aren't 1,000% on edge, and if you get the slightest bit of comfortable, the other team will steamroll you in this league. And I think you've seen a little bit of that this year, because they've been pretty good at evening up the series if they've lost on a Friday or taking game 1. But it's these rubber matches to where it's almost like they get a little too comfortable, and that slightest bit of comfortability gets you steamrolled in this league.
Why would you get comfortable in the winner take all scenario like that? That just doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
It doesn't make sense to me either.
I'll say this too about Dustin's call. Like, I used to be like a big wrestling fan, right? Loved all the theatrics and all that stuff. And I got a kick out of Tony showing up the umpire and doing all that talking from the dugout. But I think it was affecting his baseball team because they took on the personality of him, and it was affecting like their play, where you had guys getting ejected, and Like
He came to a head in 22 when they lost to Notre Dame, and Drew Gilbert got thrown out. Frank Anderson got thrown out.
Yeah. It was fun. It was fun to watch it, but Tony needed to dial it back, and he did. Like, he dialed it back to 23, dialed it back in 24, and I don't know if that was the reason why they broke through and won the championship, but it's hard to ignore that they won the championship while he was dialing it back. And so I don't know if Tony wants to get back to that. And we've seen basketball coaches intentionally get technical fouls when their team seems flat, when their team seems lifeless. And maybe Tony did that at that moment, on top of the fact that the umps were terrible. Like, so maybe it was a 2-for-1 reason why Tony did what he did, but I don't think I'm going to expect Tony to resort back to 2022 Tony Vitello or 21 Tony Vitello, where he's getting ejected, tossed out, having lemonade stands, and doing this week in and week out. I doubt he goes back there, because I remember there was a mention about his conversations with Rick Barnes. Rick Barnes coached a long time. Rick Barnes was that fiery coach, and I think conversations with Rick kind of helped him mellow out a little bit. I just don't think Tony's going to go back to that.
I'd be surprised if he did, because exactly what you're saying, he made a concerted effort after that Notre Dame series loss. Going into 23 and moving forward, he made a concerted effort to dial it back. Yeah. He absolutely did. And I'm not sure who called him a travesty to baseball. He mentioned that in his Monday morning interview on Sports Talk with John Wilkerson that he does every Monday. I'm not sure what he was referencing. There was a member of Auburn's administration. Let me see here. That it was Auburn's Senior Associate Athletic Director of Fan Experience. Somebody involved in Auburn's admin did tweet out a meme of Butch Thompson. Essentially, Butch Thompson, the Auburn coach's face is on the body of a dad, and there's a toddler on his back, and Tony Vitello's face is photoshopped on it. So that was interesting that an administrator at Auburn tweeted that out. But I don't know who he was referencing, calling him a travesty. There was nothing wrong with what he did while being ejected. It was hilarious, but there was nothing like he didn't chest bump anybody, right? So as long as you're not doing that, then I don't really care. I watched the Padres manager last night get ejected against my Yankees, where he was throwing his lineup cards all over the field, and he was more in the face of the umpire than Tony was. And Tony was really irritated with the third base umpire, who was the home plate umpire that ejected Liam Doyle. Tony was very upset that Liam got ejected and the Auburn player was not ejected. And then you saw the motion to the second base umpire of him acting like he's catching a ball in the dirt and bringing it back to frame over home plate, referencing how bad the strike zone was in game one. So that's the first time he had gotten thrown out since the beginning of the 23 season. It's been a year and a half. It's been over 2 years now since he got ejected. But in terms of baseball calendar math, it had been a year and a half. So that was not a travesty. There was nothing wrong with what Tony did. That's part of the sport. It's no different than a technical foul in basketball or a head coach on a football sideline going after the refs and getting a 15-yard penalty in hopes of firing up his team. I mean, that's what I watched the Padres manager do last night to my Yankees. The Yankees were up 4-0. Fernando Tatis Jr., one of the best players in baseball, the Padres' best player, gets rung up on a pitch that was not a strike.
He got ejected too.
Fernando got ejected because he didn't like the strike 2 call, and the manager had his back, and it lit a fire under the Padres. And they came back and beat the Yankees. The Yankees blew a 4-run lead in the 8th, and part of it was because the manager fired up the team. So there was nothing wrong with how Tony acted on the field while he was being ejected. And I do think it was in an effort to fire up his team, because there have been moments where this team has played with the necessary fire. You saw it in Game 2 against Auburn. You saw it in Game 2 against LSU. There's been the Ole Miss series in which they battled through adversity to win. So you know it's inside of them, but they haven't consistently played with that edge that made Tennessee baseball Tennessee baseball. And I think there's a lot of factors this year. I think the season, from a Tony Vitello standpoint, started off on the wrong foot with the Alberto Osuna situation, and that not playing out the way that they thought it would. And I do believe that Tony took that hard. I don't know if he would admit that publicly, but my personal opinion is that affected him from the human side of things. And I think it's just been kind of one thing after the next, because he's made comments throughout the season that have made you raise your eyebrow and wonder if he's seeing the same things that we can all see out there on the field. We talked about the Hunter Ensley thing early in the year, where Hunter,
like the weather Friday.
Yes, it's kind of made him. I'm not saying it all points back to that one instance clouding his judgment throughout the entire season, but it's almost seems like it's been a snowball effect, just kind of one thing after the next. And he was right to be mad with the umpires because they were awful this weekend, but like, he made the bad decision to start the game on Friday night. And I know that was a hot topic of who makes that decision, and it's not any one person per se, but the home team decides when the game is going to start. And then once the game does start, it's up to the umpire's discretion of whether or not to continue play, whether or not to go into a delay. And so it was Tennessee's decision. Tony's involved in those conversations. Game operations, game event coordinators, those type of people in Tennessee's administration is involved. And, I mean, we know that Tony's going to have a heavy say in that decision. And I do think there's some grace there that should be given, because the forecast on Saturday did not look great. You were trying to play as much baseball as you could. You don't want to play a doubleheader, which I understand, but the forecast looked so bad that it just, even with those thoughts in mind, it still did not make sense to start that game. And you burned your ace. You burned your best card in the book for the time being, and Auburn was able to take advantage of Liam not having his command because of the rain, and then their best pitcher doesn't have to pitch in the same conditions because the mound, according to the umpire, was not good enough, and Tennessee came out flat the next day offensively. They didn't have an answer for the pitcher because he didn't have to start like Liam did. So, this is kind of what I meant earlier in the show when we first started. There's a lot of different talking points and storylines and conversations going on around Tennessee baseball right now. At the end of the day, to boil it down to one thought, they don't have their usual mojo that they have right now, and they need to. We've seen it here and there, but we haven't consistently seen the same Tennessee baseball energy that we all became accustomed to seeing, and so many fans like Dustin latched on to the program and began really loving them for. We haven't seen that consistently, and I don't know how you change that in such a short amount of time, because it does not get any easier from here on out. In fact, it gets more difficult with Vanderbilt coming to town. And then you go to Arkansas. You know Arkansas can't wait to host Tony. And then you got the SEC tournament, which is going to be a gauntlet. And then you have the NCAA regional weekend. And hopefully that's at home. But there's a real possibility that they play themselves out of hosting that first weekend of the tournament. So it's in them, but how do they bring it out of them these next couple of weeks? I think it's a fascinating question, because I have no idea what the answer is.
All right, going to the Beatty Chevrolet text box. Skeet, what are the relief pitchers? It's like they don't have anyone besides Snead and Lloyd. They had developed some guys in previous years. You want to take that?
Yes. I mean, you can take it if you want.
No, I was going to keep reading.
Just that they haven't the JUCO arms have not been what they thought they would be. Brendan Arvidsson has shown flashes of how good he can be. I feel like he's kind of going through his Marcus Phillips season. Marcus last year coming out of JUCO, you saw the potential. He just needed some seasoning. I think Brendan Arvidsson also needs some seasoning, and he almost got drafted last summer because of he's a lefty, has good velo, breaking ball is filthy, almost too filthy. That's why he always spikes one and is liable for wild pitches with runners on base. So we'll see if somebody takes a chance on him in the draft this year. But if he comes back, like I think he could be next year's Marcus Phillips in terms of seeing the potential come through. He's been the most productive, but you haven't gotten what you thought you were going to get out of Austin Breedlove and Michael Sharman and Ryan Combs. You expected the 4 JUCO arms to play a big role in the bullpen. And right now, I mean, you throw them in there, and I mean, Ryan Combs is not sniffing the weekend, not even close. Breedlove and Sharman, they get in if it's a blowout or if you need somebody to eat innings, and Arvidsson's kind of low on the totem pole as well. So it'd be nice if one of those guys stepped up for you. Nate Snead, unfortunately, is going through it right now. His fastball is real flat, not a lot of movement on it. So when the velo dips for him a little bit, and honestly, even like 97, 98, SEC hitters are not phased by 97, 98. They see that in high school at premier events. So when it's flat and it's not located, it's going to get hit hard. And his stuff is not generating swing and misses right now. They obviously need Snead to regain form. Dylan Lloyd did look better this past weekend. He gave Tennessee a big outing on Saturday to give Bargo a chance to tie it in the bottom of the ninth. But they're searching for guys. They need an Andrew Binky to step up. And unfortunately, they've reached the point of they need the pair of freshmen to step up as well. Tegan Coons and Braden Krenzel. They need those guys to get going. I thought Tegan was awesome picking up for Liam on Saturday for game one. He's going to have to play a pivotal role for Tennessee going forward. I'm curious to see what they do with that Sunday starting spot. AJ's still searching for it. Again, like I said earlier, I thought he pitched really well in the first 2 innings. His final line looks a lot worse than he actually pitched, which it's funny. At LSU, he was not good, and his final line at LSU looks better than the Auburn outing when he pitched much better than he did at LSU. That's baseball for you right there. But they've got to get him going. There's still plenty of time. Get 2 to 3 innings out of him. Hopefully this blister that popped up isn't a super big deal. Liam had a blister pop up a couple of weeks ago, and you just applied glue to it and rock and rolled. So hopefully they can do that with AJ. But the bullpen pieces have just not. There's a ton of potential down there. They just have not come together like they had hoped that it would.
Continuing here on the Beatty Chevrolet text box. It's time to switch from football and basketball portal to full baseball attention, fans. We can do it. We can do it all. We can pay attention to it all.
We're an everything show.
That's
Tennessee's an everything school. The Swain Event's an everything show. Hey. Whatever is popping, we're going to talk about it. We're versatile.
Nathaniel says, a big frustration I have with this team is it always feels like they're playing behind against SEC teams. We almost never strike first, which puts us behind the 8 ball so often. It does feel like that because it is like that. I mean, that's what's going on right now. GBO Rilla says, coming up a little bit short. Come on now, Swain. I'm not out on us, but we got house this past weekend. I mean, the last game you got beat down. You did. But you didn't get sweep, so that's what I meant. Like, it was a rubber match there in the third game, which you did get beat down.
And for the first game, if you wanted to do this, you would be within reason. Like, pointing to game one, the strike zone was awful. Like 22-inch rims, as Tony Vitello said post-game.
What's wrong with 22-inch rims, Tony? Huh?
Like, you could say, what would have happened if you didn't have the weather issue on Friday night and the strike zone wasn't what it was. Now, do I have confidence that Tennessee still would have beaten Auburn in that game? No, but you could have reasonably say what would have happened if those two things did not happen.
Gotcha. Just win some more. This is awkward. This is awkward for us, man. We've been on this winning streak, but this is what it's supposed to be like, man. You're not gonna win everything all the time. The run that Tennessee was on was unbelievable. And listen, it's still part of the run. It's not like we stink. We're just not as good as we've been used to seeing this team be. That's the only difference. Excuse me. That is the only difference. Basketball. Rick Barnes got himself a new assistant coach. Rod Clark takes the Indiana job. Boy, I mean, it happened pretty quick. I mean, it was almost like Rick Barnes knew what was about to happen, and Rick already made moves, and boom, here comes Amaro Morgan coming in from Florida State. Never coached a game there, but he goes from Cal to Florida State and here to Tennessee. And, man, he's that young recruiter. He's kind of like the Rod Clark replacement when you look at both of their track records and kind of what they bring to the table. But how did that all play out, Ben, with Rod Clark going to Indiana and then Tennessee being able to replace him in like 5 minutes with Amaro Morgan from Florida State?
Yeah, we kind of talked about Rod leaving last Thursday morning. I think in his eyes, like Indiana is a better job than Tennessee. Historically, the brand name in college basketball is bigger, which is correct. But as we talked about Thursday morning, at least I said it myself, I don't know that even with the historical nature of Indiana basketball compared to Tennessee basketball, that I would rather be at Indiana right now. But that is a separate conversation, and not to suggest that Rod was unhappy, but he was, I don't want to say at the bottom of the totem pole because that sounds disrespectful, but I mean, Greg Polinsky and Justin Gainey are more experienced. Gainey's the associate head coach. Polinsky has a ton of NBA front office experience. Like Rod Clark's 32 years old. Like just naturally he's the more inexperienced of the coaches on staff. So he probably deserved a bump in pay. He probably deserved more responsibilities because I do think he was Tennessee's best recruiter. So I think a lot of different factors played into that, but it was nothing but love from Rod Clark. You saw him express that on social media a couple of times the last several days, and I think at the end of the day, I mean, he's not a Tennessee guy, right? So for him, somebody who grew up in Kansas City, played JUCO ball, I believe in Texas, but he has ties to Texas through the recruiting world and elsewhere. Like he's not a Tennessee guy. So if you're not a Tennessee guy, you're going to think that the ceiling with the Indiana brand of basketball is going to be higher than Tennessee's. Now, again, I don't agree with that in the short term whatsoever. They've got a first-year coach that's going to have to prove himself in a really tough place to win. I don't know that Indiana will be what it used to be. I don't think it's ever going to fully claim a spot in the elite blue blood tier 1 level of schools. They're never going to be a Duke or a North Carolina or a Kentucky or that. So like I think you can maybe nitpick that thought process. I'd rather be with Rick Barnes right now, but I also don't know that there was a lot of opportunity to go upward at the moment with Polinsky and Gainey returning. So it makes sense. But Amaro Morgan, from the outside looking in, I mean, it seems like Rod Clark 2.0. And
it really does.
Can I keep it a buck?
That's kind of what we like to do here.
I mean, it's going to be what you were going to say, I think. Tennessee needed a young African-American on staff. And I think this is the perfect replacement for Rod, because Rod was obviously a great recruiter, but I also think he was a great sounding board for the players. When we know how Rick's practices are, and when things get tough and it seems like you're just constantly fighting an uphill battle because of how hard Rick is. Like I know Rod played a great role in just kind of being that big brother to be a sounding board. So I have not met Amaro Morgan, obviously, but it seems like he's a great young and up and coming coach. I thought, frankly, if I'm being totally honest, that Tennessee needed another young African American on staff. I think that serves a lot of great purposes from a recruiting standpoint. I think it can help serve as that Rod Clark role, and not that the others don't. Like I see Greg Polinsky and Justin Gainey pull guys off to the side all the time.
They older, yeah,
Yeah,
older.
but they're older, and and Morgan is a bit more experienced.
Like you need staff.
I like the move. I like the move.
Yeah, like I mean, you look at Heupel staff. And I'm talking about a sport that have multiple assistant coaches. Like you got to have different coaches from different backgrounds to be able to connect with different type of players. I mean, folks can get all uncomfortable with it if they want to, but that's just the way it is, and it's the way it's always been. When coaches are constructing their staffs, you got to have diversity, and so diversity makes people uncomfortable. I don't know why, but it does, but it's important. And it's been that way in college football, college basketball. You're not recruiting the same guys from the same background. If you are out there trying to say, I only want this type of player that have only experienced these type of things in life and have this going for them, like you're putting yourself in a corner. You got to be able to have different people in your staff, in your program, that can connect with any type of player that you bring into your program. You look at football, the staff, and it goes beyond just the coaches on the football field. You have, Chris Walker. You have other folks off the field there. I mentioned Chris Walker because he's a former player, serves as a chaplain. But you have other individuals. They got all kind of different titles, but it's basically for player development.
Well, let me quickly also throw in, along with Chris Walker, because Chris Walker has a huge impact on that basketball team. Those players love. What's that?
Bigger than football, in my opinion.
Yes. I think it's easier with basketball because there's less guys.
It's smaller,
yeah, smaller group of guys. I know he has a lot of great relationships on the football side as well.
Yeah.
He has a lot of great relationships across campus. He's a great resource for all Tennessee athletes, and I'm a big fan of Chris Walker. I know you are too. He plays a huge role with the basketball program. The other person behind the scenes that I wanted to mention with basketball is Mary Carter Eggert, the director of basketball operations. She's Mama Bear for the basketball program, and I think she's been really good for Rick as well, to kind of help level him out. His age and experience has helped in that manner. In terms of tempering that flame we were referencing earlier. Maybe Tony Vitello needs a Mary Carter in his program. I know Beth Shorts does a great job on the nutrition side with the program, helping Q with the strength coach, but Mary Carter does a phenomenal job but behind the scenes as well.
Yeah, 100%, man. 865-255-03, Garza Law Hotline.
Real quick before we move on, because I think we need to talk about that Colorado corner transfer that Tennessee picked up over the weekend. There was some football news. In terms of why Rick was able to make this hire so quickly, I think he keeps a running list of guys that he would, if something like Rod Clark pops up, because you never know. I think he keeps a running list, maybe not an actual running list, but he is very aware of, okay, if this person leaves, this is who I want to go get. And I think he identified him, was obviously well aware of him, of Amaro Morgan. You don't make the hire if you're not well aware of him. You don't make it so quickly, that is. And it was very quick, but obviously you trust Rick Barnes' judgment. I mean, what assistant has he had that has not really worked out? Like, I can't think of a single one of his main three assistants that has not done a great job for him. So you obviously respect and you believe in Rick's judgment, and I think this is no different, regardless of how quick the decision was made. Rick knows what he's doing, is what I'm getting to.
Ben, you mentioned the Colorado corner transfer. We had him on our show on Friday. We were at Avalon Golf Club.
Colton Hood?
Yeah, we was at Avalon Golf Club, Coach Former's golf tournament to benefit Boys and Girls Club. And so got a chance to talk to Colton Hood, and he mentioned something that went down at Colorado. And so just going back and looking at what he had posted when he entered the transfer portal, basically they told him that basically it's better for him to go somewhere else. And that's what it looked like from his Instagram post about his reason to transfer. And you go look at his film, man. He's made some really good plays for Colorado, and he has multiple years of eligibility. He is someone that's played inside this conference before. He played with his brother and cousin there at Colorado. One was a walk-on. One played linebacker. The other played running back. They both hit the portal, and so he talked about how important it was for them to be together and play together. I don't know if Tennessee is a destination for his cousin and his brother, but that is something that he mentioned, and I think this is a pretty good get for Tennessee. I don't know what he's going to do, but I know that he was behind Travis Hunter, and DB in the country would be behind Travis Hunter last year, and so he's had many of reps going up against Travis Hunter because I asked him about that during the interview on Friday. But yeah, I think this is a nice pickup for Tennessee because you just don't know how fast Jamal McCoy is going to come back, and Colton is a guy that he's played enough. He could possibly move him inside. You could move him outside, and he's cool with playing either. He don't care, is what he told us. So, Ben, your thoughts on Colton Hood transferring to Tennessee from Colorado? I guess that's another trade that we've done with the program.
Yeah, that one was a 2-for-1 though, because you had what was it, Larry Johnson and John Slaughter?
Yeah, DB. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Good luck, Mr. Slaughter. In terms of the actual addition, I'm glad Tennessee went out and got another DB and got a corner. I think that without Jamal McCoy, you simply do not have enough. And I think it would be risky to go into the season with not knowing just how much of Jamal McCoy you were going to get, whether that be when he is able to begin play, how rusty he is coming off of the injury. Obviously, Jamal McCoy is an All-American. Every early 2026 mock draft that you see, he's projected as a first-round pick. I've seen top 15 pick. Not that really means anything in May. This time last year, James Pierce Jr. was projected as the number 1 overall pick in the draft. But you trust Jamal McCoy if you know what you're going to get in Jamal McCoy, obviously, but you don't because of the ACL injury. So just simply put, without him, you did not have enough. Mm-hmm. And there's a world in which I don't think that this will happen, but Jamal McCoy may not play up to the level that he played at last year, coming off of the ACL injury. So just with kind of the unknown, like I think you needed to go add somebody because you just did not have enough. I like Ricky Gibson. Obviously, I like Jalen McMurray, but with all due respect to Jalen McMurray, I don't think he's an SEC starting caliber cornerback. I think he's a good number 3, good number 4. That's probably what Colton Hood is as well.
Well, he wasn't last year. I mean, he could be this year. We saw Ricky Gibson, go from one season being a backup as a freshman, then being a true sophomore and being a starter. So last year he wasn't.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Like I didn't mean to insinuate that I'm writing him off. And honestly, I liked watching Jalen McMurray play last year because he played
with an edge.
He played with a fire, and I loved how hard he did play. He was kind of to a lesser extent the Jackson Moy of the secondary. I enjoyed watching Jalen McMurray get in there and run around, and he made some plays. So I don't mean to insinuate that he's not capable of playing in the SEC, but that to me it might be slight, but there's a drop off from Ricky and Jermod to Jalen McMurray. There's just not the same ceiling there. Maybe the floor is higher, but the ceiling is not higher. So
The ceiling's not the roof.
maybe he really takes a big step forward this summer. That'd be awesome for Tennessee. But my question though, Swain, is more of why do you think he was told to look around? Because to me, there's three scenarios.
Well, they brought in some
Either
guys. They brought in some guys. I don't know.
well, my brain immediately goes to, okay, is he not good, or was he a troublemaker? That's where my brain went when you mentioned what you mentioned. So hopefully it is that Colorado feels like it brought in better DBs than him.
Well, let me read you exactly what he posted on April the 25th. He said, "We learned the school was moving in a different direction, and we humbly respect that decision by entering the portal. Thank you to everyone for the love and support over the past year. Please pray for me as I pursue purpose because I never chased paychecks." So money's mentioned there. I'm not going to say that's the reason, but he was told that the school is moving in a different direction, which is another way of saying, hey, man, you need to go look somewhere else and look. And so a school is not going to do that unless they feel good about having someone come in that's better than you. Like that wouldn't make any sense for them to do that, say that to Colton Hood, and bring in someone who's not better than Colton Hood. That makes no sense. Or someone that they believe who's not better than Colton Hood. So they may be right. They may be wrong. It really doesn't matter. It's about, is Colton Hood an addition for Tennessee's secondary? And does he make Tennessee's secondary better? And it's hard for me to believe that he will not and does not. That's what it's about.
Yeah, and I agree. I do like the pickup, but I think that's a fair question to ponder when he is very open about Colorado asking him to move on, because you're being asked to move on because either they think that they have players that are better than you, or you're a troublemaker. So hopefully it's that Colorado is wrong in their evaluations.
Well,
but he's again can be the perfect number 3, number 4 in Tennessee's corner room if that's what he plays, and that's what Tennessee needed. Tennessee needed another body, and it seems like given what they needed, he fits exactly that, because you weren't going to go get another Jamal McCoy out of the portal this spring. You were going to get a guy like this, and they seem to find the best combination of depth and potential ability.
Yeah, I won't say it's weird, but like Tennessee don't bring in troublemakers like that. So I can eliminate that as a reason, because I just don't think, like we've had some guys who are a little rough around the edges, but like that's not who we go after, man. Like we don't really mess with dudes like that. And there's times where I wish we did it a little bit more. A little bit more, not too much, but just a little bit more, and just be able to have the people in place, have the patience in place, be able to work with that young man, and get the best out of him and help him. But like I don't blame a school for shying away from the red flags if there are too many or the red lights are too bright. But you can't shy away from every little red flag every little time you see one with every prospect, or you just won't get any good players. So you got to be really careful about what type of players you bring in with some type of baggage. You can't shoo them all away, but you can't bring them all in either. So you got to be selective. So I don't automatically go to, oh well, he was a troublemaker there. Something went wrong. I just think it was more of a football reason why Colorado said we're good. We're going in a different direction. And William Martinez's track record, you get someone with multiple years. I just feel like it was a perfect fit. Now, I did ask him. I was like, "How does the moving work, man? Do you like haul up the stuff in a vehicle? How long does it take for you to get from Georgia, where he's from, to Colorado? What's the drive like? He was like, I've never made that drive. I was like, what do
He's
you do?
flying every time.
You just pack up your stuff in a suitcase, and when you transfer to from Auburn to Colorado, did you just pack it up in a suitcase? He was like, yep. So that's what he'll be doing coming to Knoxville. He was a little unsure about when he got going and started, because listen, he just committed that day or the day before, and so he didn't have all those details. But I'm pretty sure with guys that are transferring during the spring portal window, you want to get here as soon as possible, and that's going to be the case for Joey Aguilar as well. Josh Heupel,
which is great news.
Yeah, Josh Heupel, when he was asked by my guy Brent Doherty out there in Nashville about the Nico Iamaleava situation, Heupel pivoted and said it was the Joey Aguilar situation. So turning the attention to who is with us instead of who is not with us. And so Brian Hunsaker says, no. We need some guys like blank and blank. And these two guys have been either accused of the worst crime in the Bible or have been proven to be guilty of the worst crime in the Bible. And you can put two and two together. Hunsucker, I know you're joking, but we don't need no guys like that.
No. They need more Omar Norman Lots.
Yes, that's what we need.
They need more Omar Norman Lots. We've got some college football news that just came out. Nothing crazy, and it does not pertain to Tennessee, but I find it interesting. Notre Dame and Clemson have struck a 12-year annual football scheduling deal. According to Ross Dellinger of Yahoo, the series works independently of the ACC structure, but does count as one of Notre Dame's 5 ACC games. Notre Dame is also expected to play Florida State in Miami on a more regular basis. So that's pretty good for college football. Notre Dame and Clemson playing for the next 12 years, or I don't know when that will begin, but at some point they will play for 12 years. That'll be a fun back and forth between two of the bigger brands in the sport right now.
No, I agree. It's a good deal for Notre Dame. I mean, they got a lot of momentum right now, man. And they've played the ACC schedule in the past. And so this will allow them, even though they'll never have a first-round bye because they don't play in the conference, but being able to play games like this and beat programs like Clemson, which I think they'll have some success against in the future, and put them in position to get a good seed for the college football playoff. 865-255-03. Just joined the ACC already. Quit being half pregnant, Notre Dame. From Skeet.
It's not even like they're half pregnant. It's like they're in the final trimester of pregnancy.
They doing what they think is in their best interest, and it's working. They had a chance to win that championship.
Yeah, but it is funny. They're part of the ACC, but we're not part of the ACC. We're going to play an ACC schedule, but we don't want to be associated with the ACC. It's like a
male
deciding whether they want to be the father of the baby and in the picture.
That happens all the time. They're more valuable than the ACC as a conference.
Yeah.
Like their school is more valuable than the whole league. So they're doing what is best for them and in their best interest. I don't blame them, man. It's working. They got a bigger brand.
I don't either. I'd if I were in charge of college football, I'd be working to try and get them in the Big Ten. I think it'd be fun to have them in the Big Ten and playing Michigan and Ohio State and all the big brands in the Big Ten.
They used to play Michigan, it seemed like every year.
Yeah, I guess they had a scheduling series sorted out. I don't know, but they're in Big Ten country, right? Yeah. Like it makes the most sense for them to be in the Big Ten. On NCAA football, whenever I start a dynasty, I always put Notre Dame in the Big Ten.
So you just force them in there?
Yep. When I'm in charge, I put them in there.
trying to think if there was anything that we missed. I think we covered everything that's happened.
Been all baseball and basketball the last couple of days. It was good to see football pick up in addition out of the transfer portal. It was at a position of need, maybe not the position at the forefront of everybody's mind, but that's a pickup that certainly helps the team. You're starting to see more and more high school football recruiting news come out as these summer months heat up, and that's when that's really now the new recruiting window for high school recruiting is May and June and July. That's when a lot of the official visits are taking place. So that is beginning to heat up. We've kind of reached that dead point of the calendar year. Not that there really is ever a dead point anymore, especially with Tennessee baseball being what it has been the last couple of years, but to where football has died down a little bit outside of some last-minute portal news and high school recruiting picking up. Basketball pretty much has its roster set. There's one more spot that they can play with for now, unless the roster gets bumped up to 15. I'm not doing it. I'm not talking about it. Let me know when the rosters expand, and then we can talk about Jordan Gainey. It's the likelihood of that happening is like 0.00001%.
But it's a chance.
In today's day and age, I guess so. But yeah, other than that, I mean, you had Danny White reacting to Texas's $35-40 million Texas football roster and said that Tennessee is going to be as competitive as anyone, and they're not putting these talent fees and ticket fees, all these fees that they've implemented the last couple of years. He essentially said that we're not doing that just for fun, so it can sit in our piggy bank over in the corner. Like there's a reason those are in place. But yeah, Jacoby Thomas ends up at Miami. Outside of baseball, there's not a whole lot going on right now.
Jacoby Thomas must have got a nice bag then.
Good for him.
Yeah, good for him, man. I know around the number he was going to make here at Tennessee, and if Miami was doubling that or somewhere close to that, then hey, man, I guess you got to do what you got to do.
I just want to know what Miami saw for them to feel like it was worth doubling his salary. The guy couldn't start over Will Brooks and Andre Turrentine, and you're going to pay him double? And really, he could not start over Andre Turrentine. I don't want to disrespect Will Brooks. He was phenomenal last year, arguably the MVP of the team behind Dylan Sampson. He was in the conversation.
Josh, but Ben, he couldn't play over either one of them, because if he was a top two safety, they would have found a place for him to be on the football field. So, and there were ample opportunities for him to take over for somebody throughout the season. Yeah, he did start hurt. I think he had like a hamstring or something in fall camp, but still. I mean, listen,
double.
I said the same thing. I don't know if it was double, but I know it was enough for him to not come back to the place where he always said he wanted to play, in a place that was willing to pay him a whole lot of money for someone that, hadn't started yet. So it had to be worth it to throw out all the other post-career opportunities that you may have had. So that's all I'm saying. All right. Good luck. Good luck, Jacoby. Swain Event, fueled by Dead End Barbecue, top 100 barbecue restaurant in America. Alpha Wildlife. Man, I saw a fox the other day in the neighborhood. I saw a possum the other day.
I got a bunch of coyotes over here.
I mean, my goodness. If you're having issues with wildlife in your home or around your property, call Alpha Wildlife. Veteran owned. Big Tennessee fan. Serving
And if you need a new home to protect, if you're looking to buy or sell, rent, whatever you want to do, Jennifer Morris of Keller Williams Realty can help you out. And she'll even have a conversation about Tennessee baseball with you. She'll even talk about Tennessee football with you. She's the best and can help you do whatever you want to do in the real estate world. So please reach out to Jennifer Morris.
Does she want to talk about baseball right now?
She texted me this morning asking me questions. So, yes.
I got some more questions coming your way, too.
We'll talk about it Thursday.
For Ben McKee, I'm Jason Swain. Swain Events fueled by Dead End Barbecue. Remember, the bologna competition taking place this Saturday. Go to the website at majorleagueeating.com. You can see all the details there. But Saturday, 12 p.m. is when it starts, and doors will open at 11. You don't want to miss the second annual Bologna Showdown presented by Dead End Barbecue. We will be back on Thursday, 8 a.m., same time. Swain Event, fueled by Dead End Barbecue.